It was a bright and peaceful morning in the city park. The sky was blue, the birds were singing, and children were laughing as they played. People walked, jogged, and sat on benches, enjoying the sunshine. Among them was an old man named Mr. Kareem. He wore a neat white shirt, brown pants, and a soft cap on his head. His face was kind, but his eyes looked tired. In one hand, he held a small brown bag. In the other, he held a single red flower dot. Mr. Kareem walked slowly along the path, stopping now and then to catch his breath. He smiled at the children playing, and nodded politely at passersby. But no one paid much attention to him. Everyone was busy with their own world. He reached the middle of the park. Near a fountain, he stood still and looked at the sky for a moment. A deep sigh came from his chest. He whispered something to himself, words too soft to hear. Then suddenly, he stumbled. His hands shook. His legs felt weak. The flower dropped from his hand and floated gently to the ground. Mr. Kareem clutched his chest with both hands. Pain shot through his body like fire. His breathing became hard and fast. People walked by him, some giving a quick glance, others not noticing at all. He tried to call out, but no sound came. His knees gave in, and he collapsed right there. Beside the fountain, for a few seconds, everything seemed frozen. A man jogging nearby looked, then kept running. A woman on her phone paused, but quickly walked away. Two teenagers laughed as they passed, thinking maybe the old man was just resting. No one came to help. Mr. Kareem lay there, half-conscious, eyes blinking slowly. His chest rose and fell with effort. He could hear footsteps, voices, and life moving around him, but no one stopped. A little girl named Amina was playing not far from the fountain. She was 6 years old, full of energy and joy. She was chasing her red ball, laughing as it bounced along the path. Her mother sat on a nearby bench, watching her with a soft smile. As Amina's ball rolled closer to the fountain, she ran after it. That's when she saw Mr. Kareem lying on the ground. His face looked pale, his eyes looked scared. The flower beside him was crushed. Amina stopped. Her ball kept rolling, but she didn't chase it. Her eyes were fixed on the man. She looked around. No one was helping. People were still walking, talking, smiling, but they didn't see what she saw. "Mommy," she shouted, pointing. "That uncle is not moving." Her mother looked and gasped. She stood up quickly and came running. But before she could reach Amina, was already at Mr. Kareem's side. "Uncle," Amina said softly, "are you okay?" Mr. Kareem didn't answer. His lips moved a little, but no words came. Amina remembered something from her favorite cartoon, how the character checked if someone was breathing. She bent down and listened close to Mr. Kareem's chest. "Mommy, I think he's sick. We have to help him." A few people nearby turned to look. Some came closer. One woman said, "Oh no, he's not well. Somebody call an ambulance." Amina took her toy phone from her pocket. It didn't work like a real phone, but she held it to her ear and shouted, "Hello, hospital, come quick." A nice uncle fell down. People smiled at her, but one kind woman finally took out her real phone and made the call. Within minutes, the sound of an ambulance filled the air. The siren grew louder as it got closer. Two medics jumped out and rushed to Mr. Kareem. They checked his pulse, gave him oxygen, and lifted him carefully onto a stretcher. "Is he going to be okay?" Amina asked one of the medics. "We'll do our best, sweetheart," he said with a smile. Before the ambulance doors closed, Amina picked up the red flower and gently placed it on Mr. Kareem's chest. "You forgot this, Uncle," she whispered. The ambulance drove away. The crowd slowly began to disappear. The fountain kept flowing. The children went back to their games, but Amina stood still, her small hand holding her mother's. "Why didn't anyone help him?" she asked quietly. Her mother looked down at her and said, "I don't know, Beta. Sometimes people are afraid. Sometimes they just don't see." "But I saw him," Amina said. "Yes, you did, and you helped him. That's what matters." Later that day, Amina sat at home, drawing a picture of the park. She drew the fountain, the sky, the red flower, and an old man with kind eyes. Her mother watched her and said, "You did something very big today, Amina. Something many grown-ups didn't do. Will he be okay?" Amina asked. "I hope so," her mother replied. Somewhere across the city, Mr. Kareem was lying in a hospital bed. Machines beeped softly beside him. The red flower rested on the table near his pillow. His eyes were closed, but a small smile touched his lips. Somewhere deep in his heart, he remembered a tiny voice, a gentle touch, and a little girl who didn't walk away. And that was the day everything began to change. Amina could not stop thinking about the old man from the park. That night, before going to bed, she asked her mother again, "Do you think he is okay now?" Her mother gently brushed her hair and said, "I hope so, Beta. He is in the hospital now. The doctors will take care of him." But Amina still felt something in her little heart. It was like a quiet worry that would not go away. The next morning, she woke up early and got ready. She carried her red flower drawing with her. At breakfast, she looked at her mother and asked, "Can we go see him, just for a little while?" Her mother looked surprised. "You want to visit him in the hospital?" Amina nodded. "He looked so lonely. I just want to make sure he is okay." Her mother thought for a moment, then smiled. "Okay, we'll go after lunch. You have a big heart, Amina." Later that day, Amina and her mother reached the hospital. They asked the nurse about the old man who was brought in from the park. The nurse checked a chart. "You mean Mr. Kareem?" she asked. Amina's eyes lit up. "Yes, Uncle Kareem." The nurse smiled. "He's awake now, a little weak but better. Room 27. They walked down the quiet hallway and entered the room. Mr. Kareem was sitting up, wearing a light blue hospital gown. He looked tired but peaceful. His eyes turned toward the door slowly. When he saw Amina, his face changed. His lips curved into a soft smile. "It's you," he whispered. Amina walked closer, holding her drawing. "Hi, Uncle. I came to check on you." Mr. Kareem blinked a few times, then reached for her hand. "Thank you, little one. You saved me." Amina's mother stood quietly behind her, watching the moment, with tears in her eyes. "No one else stopped," Amina said. "I saw you, and I was scared." Mr. Kareem nodded. "You were braver than many adults. You reminded me of someone." He reached toward the small table beside his bed. There was an old brown wallet. Slowly he opened it and took out a small faded photo. It was a picture of a young girl, about Amina's age, with long hair and bright eyes. "This was my daughter," he said. "Her name was Fariha." Amina looked at the photo. "She looks like me." Mr. Kareem smiled sadly. "Yes, that's why I think maybe Allah sent you to me that day." Amina's mother sat down on the chair near the bed. "What happened to her?" she asked gently. Mr. Kareem looked out the window. "She got sick many years ago. We tried everything, but she didn't make it." "She was 6, the same age as Amina." There was silence in the room for a moment. Amina held Mr. Kareem's hand tighter. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He patted her hand softly. "It's okay. She's in a better place now. But every year, on her birthday, I go to the park and place a flower near the fountain. That's where we used to go together. That's where she laughed the most." Amina looked down. "So that's why you had a flower." Mr. Kareem nodded. "This year I felt weak, but I didn't want to miss it. I wanted to keep the promise. But I fell before I could reach the fountain." Amina's eyes filled with tears. She stepped closer and hugged him gently. "You'll still go again." "I'll go with you next time." Mr. Kareem smiled through watery eyes. "I'd like that very much." For the next 20 minutes, they sat together, talking like old friends. Mr. Kareem told stories about his daughter, about the park, about the funny things she used to say. Amina listened with wide eyes and a soft smile. When it was time to leave, she placed her drawing on his table. "That's you and me," she said. "With the red flower." He looked at the drawing carefully. "It's beautiful. I will keep it forever." They said goodbye for the day, and Amina promised to visit again. On the way home, she held her mother's hand tightly. "I think he needs someone," she said. "Yes," her mother replied, "and maybe you need him too." In the hospital room, Mr. Kareem stared at the ceiling after they left. He felt something he hadn't felt in years. He touched the drawing again, and whispered, "Thank you, little angel." The next few days were different for him. Nurses noticed he was eating better. He smiled more. He even tried walking a little with support. Every time Amina visited, his mood lifted. She brought him small gifts, cookies she baked with her mom, tiny flowers from her school garden, and even her favorite toy to show him. "This is Mr. Oliphant," she said proudly. "He protects me from bad dreams." Mr. Kareem laughed. "Well, now he can protect me too." The bond between them grew stronger each day. Amina's mother also began to visit regularly, helping Mr. Kareem with reading, bringing clean clothes, and speaking to the doctors. It was like a new family was slowly forming. One afternoon, Mr. Kareem said something unexpected. "Can I ask you something?" he said to Amina's mom. "Yes, of course. Would you let Amina come with me to the park once I get better? I want to show her the fountain, where it all began." Amina jumped up with joy. "Yes, I want to go." Her mother nodded with a smile. Mr. Kareem was getting stronger every day. The doctors were surprised by his fast recovery. They said it was not just the medicine but something else too. Maybe hope, maybe happiness. And everyone knew the reason was Amina. She came to visit him almost every day. Sometimes after school, sometimes on weekends. She would walk in, smiling, carrying something small or drawing, a storybook, or a little flower. Every visit made Mr. Kareem feel younger. He started walking more, laughing more, even joking with the nurses. One day, while Amina was sitting beside his bed, coloring in her notebook, Mr. Kareem asked, "Do you believe in angels?" Amina looked up and said, "I think they have wings and fly in the sky." Mr. Kareem smiled. "Some angels don't have wings. Some walk on the ground like you." Amina laughed. "I'm not an angel. I'm just Amina." But Mr. Kareem knew better. There was something special about her. She didn't just help him, she brought light back into his life. That evening, after Amina and her mother left, a young nurse walked in. She said, "You look much better today, Mr. Kareem." He nodded. "It's because of that little girl. She reminds me of my daughter so much. It feels like I've been given a second chance." The nurse smiled kindly. "Sometimes life surprises us in beautiful ways." Mr. Kareem looked out the window, thinking about the past. Years ago, he had a happy family, his wife, his daughter, a small house filled with laughter. But after his daughter's illness, everything changed. His wife passed away from sadness 2 years later. Since then, he lived alone. No family, no visitors, just memories. But now, with Amina, something inside him had woken up. One morning, the doctor entered with a cheerful smile. "Good news, Mr. Kareem, you can go home tomorrow." Mr. Kareem felt both happy and nervous. "Home," he said quietly. "Yes," said the doctor. "Your heart is stable. But remember, no heavy work, and you must eat and rest properly." Mr. Kareem nodded slowly. That night, he sat quietly in bed. Thinking, he looked around the hospital room. The flowers Amina brought were still fresh. Her drawings were pinned to the wall. The room felt warm because of her. He wasn't sure if his house would feel the same. The next day, Amina arrived early. She was excited and carried a small gift box. "Uncle Kareem, you're going home," she said happily. "Yes, Beta." The doctor said, "I'm strong enough now." Amina handed him the box. "Open it." He slowly opened the lid. Inside was a small silver keychain with the word hope on it. Mr. Kareem held it gently. "This is beautiful. You can keep it with your house keys," Amina said. "So you remember, you're not alone." Mr. Kareem felt a tear roll down his cheek. He looked at Amina's mother and said softly, "Thank you for letting her be part of my life." She smiled kindly. "She chose you, Mr. Kareem. Children know who needs love." The hospital staff helped him gather his things. Amina held his hand as they walked out. Slowly, step by step, he left the hospital and stepped into the sunlight. It felt like entering a new world. Amina waved as he sat in the taxi. "See you soon," she said. "You promised to show me the fountain." "I won't forget," he replied, waving back. At home, the house felt quiet. Dust had gathered on the furniture. The air was still. Mr. Kareem walked slowly inside. He looked around at the photos on the wall. His wife's smiling face, his daughter holding a doll. Memories. He placed the keychain from Amina next to the photo of his daughter. "You would have liked her," he whispered. Days passed slowly. Mr. Kareem tried to follow the doctor's advice. He rested, ate healthy food, and took short walks inside his house. But something was missing. The visits, the laughter, the little voice calling him Uncle Kareem. Then, one afternoon, the doorbell rang. When he opened the door, there stood Amina with a basket of fruits and a wide smile. "Surprise," she said. Mr. Kareem laughed. "You came all the way here." "With Mama," Amina said, pointing to the car where her mother waved. She stepped inside and looked around. "Your house is nice, but it needs more color." Mr. Kareem chuckled. "Like what? Like drawings and flowers?" she said, taking out her crayons. From that day on, Amina and her mother visited often. They brought warmth, laughter, and care. The house felt alive again. One day, Mr. Kareem asked, "Would you like to see the fountain now?" Amina's eyes lit up. "Yes." "Can we go today?" With her mother's help, they planned the short trip. Mr. Kareem dressed carefully, holding the red flower in his hand, the same kind he carried that day. They walked slowly through the park. Everything looked just as he remembered. Children played, birds chirped, and the fountain still flowed. When they reached it, Mr. Kareem stopped. He looked at the water and closed his eyes. Then he placed the flower gently beside the fountain. Amina stood beside him, holding his hand. "For your daughter?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "For Fariha." Amina smiled softly. "She must be happy you're not alone anymore." Mr. Kareem looked down at her. "Because of you, I'm not." They sat on a bench nearby, watching the water dance in the sunlight. Mr. Kareem felt peace inside. For the first time in many years, he didn't feel broken. He felt whole. And all because a little girl had stopped to help when no one else did. That simple act had changed everything. And it was only the beginning. Amina started calling Mr. Kareem every evening. After finishing her homework, she would sit with the phone in her hand and talk to him about her day. "I had math test today," she said once. "I think I did well, but one question was really hard." Mr. Kareem laughed gently and said, "You are a smart girl. I know you did your best." These small talks became their daily habit. Even on the days she didn't visit, their voices filled each other's hearts with joy. Amina's mother noticed a change in Mr. Kareem too. He looked stronger every time they met. His eyes had a shine, his hands didn't shake as much, and he started telling stories again. One day, he brought out an old photo album. He showed Amina pictures of his young days, his wife, his daughter, and the trips they took. "This one," he said, pointing to a picture, "was taken at the zoo." Fariha loved animals. Amina smiled and said, "I love animals too. My favorite is the giraffe." Mr. Kareem nodded. Fariha's favorite was the elephant. "Maybe that's why you two would have been best friends." Amina looked at the photo again and felt close to a girl she never met. It was like Fariha was watching them from above, smiling at their new bond. The days went by peacefully until one morning, Mr. Kareem didn't answer his phone. Amina tried again and again, but there was no reply. She felt worried and told her mother. "Can we go to his house?" she asked. Her mother agreed and they quickly got ready. When they reached, they knocked on the door. No answer. Amina's mother called out, "Mr. Kareem, are you okay?" Still silence. Just as they were about to call someone for help, the door opened. Slowly, Mr. Kareem stood there, looking tired and pale. "I'm okay," he said weakly. Just feeling a little dizzy today. Amina ran to him and held his hand. You should have told us. We were so worried. He sat down on the couch and took a deep breath. I didn't want to trouble you. Amina's mother checked his pulse and made him drink water. We're family now, she said gently. No need to be alone. They stayed with him all day, cooking food, cleaning the house, and making sure he was comfortable. Before leaving, Amina placed a note on the table. It read, if you don't answer the phone tomorrow, we're coming again. Mr. Kareem smiled and folded the note carefully, placing it in his wallet. The next few days, he was better, but Amina and her mother decided to make a plan. Why don't we visit him every Sunday and bring him lunch? Amina said. Her mother agreed. And we can check on him every other day too. He shouldn't be alone anymore. On their next visit, Mr. Kareem had a surprise. He brought out an old wooden box. I want to show you something special, he said. Inside the box were tiny paper notes, drawings, and letters. Fariha used to write me notes every week. She called them love papers. She would leave them in my pockets or under my pillow. Amina looked through the papers with wide eyes. They're beautiful, she said. I think I want to do this too. That night, Amina began writing her own love papers for Mr. Kareem. You're my favorite person. Don't forget to smile today. You are stronger than you think. Each note had a little heart and a tiny flower drawn on it. Mr. Kareem started keeping them in a jar on his table. Every morning he picked one and read it. It became his new habit. One Sunday, while they were having lunch together, Mr. Kareem said something serious. I've been thinking, he began. What will happen when I'm gone? Amina looked up quickly. You're not going anywhere. He smiled and held her hand. Not now. But one day, everyone has to go. Life is like a journey. It ends for all of us. I just want to be sure that someone remembers me. Amina looked at him with tearful eyes. I will remember you forever. Her mother also nodded. And you've already left your mark on our hearts. Mr. Kareem sighed. I want to leave something behind. A story maybe. Or a message. Amina had an idea. Let's write a book about your life. He looked surprised. A book? Yes, she said. We can call it The Man with the Red Flower. Mr. Kareem laughed. That's a lovely name. From that day, they began writing the book together. Every Sunday, he told a part of his story. About his childhood, his family, his dreams, his pain, and his love. Amina wrote everything in her notebook. She added drawings too. It became their project. Week by week, the book grew. And so did their bond. One afternoon, Amina asked, Uncle Kareem, do you believe some people come into our lives for a reason? He nodded. I believe that with all my heart. Then maybe I was supposed to find you, she said softly. And I was supposed to find you, he replied. As the sun set that day, Mr. Kareem looked at the girl beside him and realized something. Even though he had lost his family, life had given him a new one. Not by blood, but by love. And that was just as strong, maybe even stronger. Ask ChatGPT. Amina and Mr. Kareem continued working on the book every Sunday. It became their favorite thing to do. Amina always came with her notebook and crayons, and Mr. Kareem always had a story ready to share. They laughed, sometimes cried, but every page they created was filled with love. One Sunday, while writing about his younger days, Mr. Kareem paused. He looked out the window and went quiet. Amina noticed and asked softly, Is everything okay? Mr. Kareem nodded but didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, There's one chapter I've never told anyone. Amina sat still, waiting. Mr. Kareem took a deep breath. After my wife passed away, I thought about ending my life. Amina's eyes widened, but she stayed silent. I felt lost, he continued, like there was nothing left for me. No daughter, no wife, no joy. I would walk in the park, hoping something would change. And then, that day came. The day I collapsed. Amina reached out and held his hand. That was the day I found you, she whispered. Mr. Kareem nodded slowly. Yes, that day changed everything. You didn't just save my life, Amina. You gave me a reason to live again. They sat quietly for a few minutes. Then Amina said, We should put that in the book, so people know that hope can return, even when everything feels dark. Mr. Kareem smiled through his tears. Yes, we should. That week, Amina decided to tell her teacher about the book. She said, I'm writing a book with someone special. It's about his life and how we became friends. The teacher listened carefully and said, That sounds beautiful. If you finish it, maybe we can share it in school. Amina was excited. She told Mr. Kareem, and he laughed. So now I'm going to be famous, he joked. Yes, Amina said, everyone should know your story. Days passed, and the seasons began to change. Leaves turned golden, and the air became cooler. Mr. Kareem began to feel tired more often. He didn't say anything at first, but Amina noticed he took more breaks while talking, and sometimes his hands shook a little more. One Sunday, while they were writing, he suddenly dropped his pen. Amina quickly helped him pick it up. Are you okay? She asked. He nodded, just a little tired. She looked at him and said, Promise me you'll tell me if you feel sick again. He smiled gently. I promise. The next day, Amina's mother called Mr. Kareem's doctor. The doctor came to check on him and suggested he visit the hospital for some tests. Mr. Kareem agreed. and Amina and her mother went with him. After the tests, the doctor said he needed to stay for a few days. Mr. Karim looked worried. "What about our book?" he asked Amina. She smiled. "Don't worry. I'll bring the notebook and crayons to the hospital," and she did. Every day after school, she came to visit. They continued writing. Nurses and other patients would often peek in and smile at the sight of the old man and the little girl working together. One nurse said, "You two are the best part of this hospital." Mr. Karim laughed. "It's because she's the boss and I'm the writer." Amina giggled and said, "Yes. And we're almost at the last chapter." As they worked on the final parts of the book, Mr. Karim began to talk more about the lessons he had learned. He said, "Life is not about how long we live. It's about what we do with the time we have, and how we touch other people's hearts." Amina listened carefully and wrote every word. "That's the last chapter," she said. "Your message to the world." One evening, Mr. Karim's health became worse. The doctor said his heart was weak again. Amina was called to the hospital quickly. When she arrived, she saw Mr. Karim resting, looking peaceful but tired. She held his hand and whispered, "I'm here." He opened his eyes slowly and smiled. "Did we finish the book?" he asked. Amina nodded. "Yes, it's beautiful." "Good," he whispered. "Promise me something." "Anything," she said. "Keep sharing our story. Let people know that kindness matters, that even one small act can change a life." Amina nodded, tears in her eyes. "I promise." Mr. Karim closed his eyes again. He looked calm, like he was ready to rest. That night, he passed away in his sleep. The hospital staff, the doctors, and the nurses were all quiet the next morning. Everyone had grown to love him. Amina cried. For a long time, her mother held her close, but she remembered his promise. She held the notebook tight. The book was done. His story would live on. A few weeks later, Amina's teacher helped her type the book and print copies. The school held a small event where Amina stood on stage and read parts of it aloud. There were tears in many eyes. The book was called The Man with the Red Flower. It talked about loss, love, kindness, and how one little girl saved an old man who was ready to give up. People started asking for copies. Some parents cried. While reading it, some children said they wanted to help others too. Amina knew Mr. Karim would have been proud. She visited the park again and stood by the fountain. She placed a red flower beside it, just like Mr. Karim had done. "I kept my promise," she whispered. "Your story is now part of the world." She sat on the bench where they once sat together. The wind blew gently. Somewhere in the silence she felt his presence, not gone, just watching, forever remembered, forever loved. Amina missed Mr. Karim every day. She still went to the park and sat on their favorite bench. Sometimes she talked out loud as if he was sitting beside her. She would say things like, "I got full marks in my test today," or "Mama made your favorite soup last night." Though no one answered, she felt peaceful. She kept the notebook with her always. It had all the stories they wrote together, the jokes, the lessons, and the drawings. One day, her school counselor asked to speak with her. Amina, the counselor, said, "Your story about Mr. Karim touched many people. Would you like to share it with other children who feel sad or alone?" Amina thought about it and nodded. "Yes, I would like that." So the school arranged a small gathering. Amina stood in front of a group of students and began to read a part of her book. Her voice shook at first, but then it became stronger. She read the part about the day in the park when everyone walked past Mr. Karim, and only she stopped. When she finished reading, everyone clapped. A few children came to her afterward and said they cried during the story. One boy said, "My grandfather is sick too. I want to spend more time with him now." Amina felt something warm in her heart. Maybe this is what Mr. Karim meant by touching hearts. The school principal called Amina and her mother to the office one day. She said, "We have an idea. We want to make your book part of our school library, and maybe even publish it for more people to read." Amina was surprised. "Really?" The principal smiled. "Yes, your story has the power to help people, and we want to make sure it reaches many." Amina's mother hugged her. She whispered, "He would be so proud of you." Amina smiled through her tears. That weekend, Amina and her mother visited Mr. Karim's old house. It was quiet and dusty, but full of memories. His neighbor, an old woman named Shirin, met them at the gate. "He talked about you all the time," she said. "He said you were his second chance at happiness." Amina walked through the small house, touching the things he had left behind. She found the jar filled with her love papers. She took a deep breath and whispered, "I'll keep these safe forever." She also found the wooden box with Faria's old notes. She added a few of her own, and closed the lid gently. On the table was their unfinished drawing of the fountain in the park. Amina smiled. "We'll finish this one day," she whispered. Back at school, Amina started a small club with the help of her teacher. They called it Kindness Club. The idea was simple. Each member would do one act of kindness every week. Help a classmate, visit an elder, write a kind note, or share lunch with someone who forgot theirs. The club grew quickly. Many students wanted to join. They started writing their own kindness stories and sticking them on the school board. Some wrote about helping a neighbor. Others wrote about calling their grandparents. The school felt warmer, happier. One afternoon while writing in her notebook, Amina had an idea. What if we visit other parks and give out small notes to strangers? She told her teacher, like tiny gifts of hope. The teacher loved the idea, so the club made small, colorful cards with simple messages. You are loved. Don't give up. Today is a new chance. And someone believes in you. They went to the park and gave them to people walking by. Some smiled, some looked surprised, and a few even cried. One man said, I needed this today. Thank you. Amina felt proud. Mr. Kareem would have loved this. She knew it. A reporter from the local newspaper heard about Amina and the club. They came to the school and interviewed her. Why do you do all this? The reporter asked. Amina thought for a moment and replied, because one kind moment saved a life. Mine and his. Now I want to pass it on. The reporter wrote a beautiful article called The Little Girl with the Big Heart. It talked about her friendship with Mr. Kareem, the book, the club, and the way a simple act of kindness changed everything. After the article was published, more people reached out. A local library offered to host a reading event. A bookstore offered to help publish the book. A teacher from another school asked if she could start a kindness club too. Amina was amazed. She didn't expect any of this. All she did was stop and help one person who had fallen. But that one choice created a wave. Her mother said, this is what happens when love leads the way. At the reading event in the library, Amina stood in front of a crowd. A few months passed, and the kindness club continued to grow. Amina and her friends met every week after school to talk about the kind things they had done. Each meeting began with a simple question. Who did you help this week? One boy said he helped his mom clean the house without being asked. A girl said she walked her neighbor's dog when a neighbor was sick. Another boy said he wrote a thank you letter to his bus driver. Amina always listened with a big smile. She would then share a story of her own, usually something small, like helping a younger student tie their shoelaces or writing a kind note to someone who looked sad. One day during a meeting, Amina had an idea. Let's plan a special event, she said. Something to honor Mr. Kareem and spread kindness to even more people. The club agreed. After some discussion, they decided to hold a kindness day at the school. There would be posters, a book reading, free kindness cards, and a corner where students could write thank you notes to someone special. The principal loved the idea and gave full support. On the morning of Kindness Day, Amina arrived early with her mother. They set up a table with flowers, a copy of the book, and a big picture of Mr. Kareem smiling. There was also a jar labeled love papers, filled with tiny folded notes, just like the ones Amina used to write for him. Students, teachers, and even some parents came to the event. Amina stood by the table and shared her story with anyone who stopped by. She told them how one act of kindness changed her life. She talked about the old man in the park, the red flower, the stories they wrote, and the promise she made to him. Some people cried, others hugged her. One teacher said, you reminded us how much a simple smile or kind word can mean. The thank you corner became very popular. Students wrote notes to their parents, friends, teachers, and even to themselves. One note read, thank you, Mom, for always believing in me. Another said, thank you, me, for staying strong even when life is hard. Amina read each note with care. She felt proud. Mr. Kareem's message was alive and spreading. At the end of the day, the principal called Amina to the stage. This little girl taught us something we all needed to remember. She said, kindness doesn't need money or power, it only needs a heart. She handed Amina a small golden badge that read Heart of Kindness. The crowd clapped and cheered. Amina held the badge close. She felt tears in her eyes, but they were happy tears. That night, Amina placed the badge next to the jar of love papers in her room. She whispered, this is for you, Uncle Kareem. We did it. The next week, a letter arrived in the mail. It was from a city newspaper. They wanted to feature Amina's story in their Sunday edition. They also asked if she would be willing to meet a few other children who had gone through sad times and needed someone to talk to. Amina said yes. The newspaper printed a beautiful article with the title One Little Girl's Promise to a Stranger Who Became Family. It included pictures of Amina, the park bench, the red flower, and the kindness club. More letters came after that. Some were from children saying her story gave them hope. Others were from elderly people who said they felt lonely too, but her story made them feel seen. Amina read each letter carefully. She started keeping them in a second jar next to Mr. Kareem's notes. She called it the kindness jar. One letter stood out. It was from a girl named Sarah who lived in another city. She wrote, I lost my grandmother last year, and I feel like no one understands how much I miss her. But when I read your story, I didn't feel alone anymore. I want to start a kindness club at my school too. Amina wrote back to her right away. She included one of her handmade kindness cards and said, you're not alone, Sarah. Be kindness sisters. A few weeks later, Sarah sent a photo of her own kindness club with 10 students smiling and holding up signs. Amina was so happy. She ran to her mom and showed her the picture. Look, she said, it's growing. Her mom nodded. Kindness is like a seed. You planted it, and now it's blooming everywhere. That evening, Amina returned to the park. She sat on the bench where it had all begun. The air was quiet. The fountain was running softly. She closed her eyes and listened. After a moment, she opened her notebook and began to write again. She wrote about everything that had happened since Mr. Kareem passed. The Kindness Club, the book, the letters, the new friends. Then she turned to a fresh page and titled it New Stories. She wrote, "Dear Mr. Kareem, your story helped start so many others. You are not gone. You are in every note, every smile, every act of love. I will keep writing, just like you taught me." As she finished the page, a gentle wind blew past. A red flower from a nearby tree fell and landed softly on her lap. She picked it up and smiled. Maybe it was just the wind, or maybe it was something more. Maybe it was a quiet hello from someone watching over her. Amina stood up, placed the flower next to the fountain, and whispered, "Thank you for choosing me." She walked home slowly, holding her notebook, ready to begin the next chapter. Amina's life continued to change in beautiful ways. People from different cities invited her to speak at schools and libraries. She always carried the notebook with her, the one she and Mr. Kareem had filled together. It was old now, but every page still felt full of love. At every event, she would read the first story the day she met Mr. Kareem in the park. She always ended her talk with the same words. Kindness does not need to be big, it just needs to be real. One day, she received an email from a television show. They had read about her Kindness Club and wanted her to be a guest on their program. Amina was nervous. She had never been on TV before. But her mother said, "Just speak from your heart, like you always do." On the day of the show, she wore a simple white dress and carried the red flower in her hand. When the host asked her about Mr. Kareem, she smiled softly and said, "He was my friend, my teacher, and my angel. I met him when the world had forgotten him, and he gave me something more precious than anything, his story." The audience was quiet. Some people wiped their tears. After the show aired, many people reached out. A bookstore offered to print her book for free and sell it across the country. Amina agreed, but only on one condition. Every book sold must give one free book to a child who cannot afford it. The bookstore loved the idea. They printed thousands of copies. The cover had a drawing of the park bench, a red flower, and a little girl holding the hand of an old man. It was called The Red Flower Promise. The book became very popular. Families read it together. Teachers read it to their students. A few schools added it to their reading lists. People started their own kindness clubs in different cities. They would write to Amina and send photos of their groups holding signs like "Kindness is Power" or "Be the One Who Stops." Amina made a wall in her room with all the letters and photos she received. She called it her wall of hearts. Every time she felt sad or tired, she looked at the wall and felt strong again. One weekend, Amina visited a special event at a community center for elderly people. The manager of the center had invited her to speak. She stood in a room full of old men and women, some in wheelchairs, some with canes, some sitting quietly. She shared Mr. Kareem's story with them. She said, "Many times, older people are forgotten, but they hold stories, lessons, and love that the world needs." After her speech, one old man came to her with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he said. "I haven't had a visitor in years, but today, I feel seen." Amina held his hand and smiled. "You are not invisible. You are special." That day, she started a new idea. She called it Kindness Across Generations. She and her club members visited old age homes every month, listened to stories, drew pictures with the elders, and gave them flowers. Some students even started calling the elders grandpa or grandma. The elders laughed more. They shared old songs, recipes, and jokes. They said they felt young again. One old woman said, "I waited for my family for years, but you all became my family." Amina knew that this was what Mr. Kareem would have wanted, not just kindness, but connection. She remembered his words, "Life is about the hearts we touch." On the first anniversary of Mr. Kareem's passing, Amina organized a walk in the park. She invited everyone from her school, the neighborhood, and even strangers online. They all came together, each holding a red flower. Before the walk began, Amina stood by the fountain and spoke. This is where it all started. One day, an old man fell, and no one stopped, but a little girl did. That moment changed to lives, and today, it has touched hundreds more. Then they all walked quietly around the park, placing flowers on benches, trees, and near the fountain. A big board was placed near the entrance where people could write their thoughts. Messages like "I will choose kindness today," and "Thank you, Mr. Kareem," covered the board. Amina placed her final message, "Your story will never end." That night at home, Amina opened the notebook again. It was full now. No empty pages left. She thought for a while, then picked up a new notebook. On the first page she wrote, "New Promises." She decided this book would not just be about Mr. Kareem, but about all the people she met, the kindness she saw, and the lives that were touched. Her mother looked at the page and asked, "Are you starting a new story?" Amina smiled and said, "No, I'm continuing the same one, because kindness never ends."